So we just covered the recreational style of road bike, which, as we said, is the entry-level road bike for someone that's maybe coming off a flat bar road bike or a hybrid bike, something a little bit more recreational and looking at getting into road cycling. We're now looking at the sport level bike, which certainly takes it up a notch in levels of performance. And some of the distinguishing facts of the recreational bike we looked at before are now a little bit more towards the performance aspect. So firstly, the first thing we looked at before, you'll notice that the saddle to handlebar height has changed. So the front end of the bike becomes a little bit lower, and the saddle, if you're sitting in the saddle, you'd need to reach down a little bit lower to get to the handlebars. Now, whilst that's adjustable in both positions, it is a little bit more aggressive in the position, and that's to get to a more aerodynamic, more ergonomic road riding position, which is certainly more efficient and going to translate to better performance for the customer. So that's the first difference. You also notice that the length of the bike is a little bit longer in the top tube there, again to create a little bit more lower position for the handlebars. And we touched on the wheelbase before. This bike has now become a little bit shorter. And the benefit of that is the bike becomes more sharp in its handling. So for higher speeds and cornering and maybe competitive type of riding, that certainly adds a lot of benefit for the handling of the rider, because the bike's going to perform much better. The other thing too, you look at the frame, and certainly to get a close-up of the frame, you'll notice that there's a lot more detail that's gone into the tubing. Now, this particular bike is still an aluminium frame, but a much higher grade of aluminium than you'll find on a recreational bike. And the benefit of that is that it's going to be a lot lighter and a lot stiffer. And the shaping that's done to the tubing provides the ability to shave weight out where it's not required. So here in the centre of the frame, where there's not a lot of the tube, where there's not a lot of stress on the tube, they're able to make it quite thin, help shave a little bit of weight off the frame, and you do that on every single tube of the bike, and obviously as a result the frame becomes much lighter. So that's the first differences with the frame. Obviously we've talked before about the carbon fork. That's now a fitted item on all these bikes at this level, because they're on the bike for a little bit longer. They're looking for higher performance. They don't want to have a bike that's fighting them, so the carbon fork is a standard feature. The other difference that we'll touch on is that the gearing. So on the previous recreational bikes, we had a triple front chainring. On this type of bike, we're going back to the double, because typically the rider's capability and fitness at this level is certainly supportive of not having the triple chainring. Also too, it adds a bit of weight, so we're trying to pull the weight of the bike back and make it a little bit lighter, so the bike performs that bit better. On this level of bike though, it's interesting to provide some assistance for the rider, particularly in the hills. They actually do go to a smaller diameter chainring than you will find on other road bikes. So traditionally on a road bike you'll find a 53 outer tooth and a 39 inner tooth. On this bike they have a 50 outer tooth and a 34 inner tooth. So what that's doing is it's just slightly reducing the load, makes it a little bit easier for climbing the hills, and for someone that maybe isn't at a very high level of fitness, still allows them to push those big rings without fear of burning out too quick. Obviously going to much higher grade components on the bike, which again is about trimming out any type of weight that's unneeded. Obviously adding to the performance of the bike, so the gears are crisper, the brakes work better, the wheels are lighter, they're a lot smoother, and obviously the sole aim of all those things is not only, as we said before, to make the bike faster, obviously more durable, because the bike's going to be ridden a lot more, for this type of rider doing a lot more kilometres, so they're looking for something that's reliable, works well, and obviously lasts without having to spend a lot of money to keep it going. So sport level bike, someone that's riding maybe a couple of times a week and maybe looking at doing their first level triathlon or road race, or for someone that's just looking for a really nice bike that's a bit lighter, a bit faster than say what we looked at in the recreational bike. Still not aggressive in its position, it's still got a comfort focus, but at the end of the day a lot more performance based than the recreational.